Wilderness season is not the end. Now, I know that when you go through a wilderness season, oftentimes you start to question almost everything about yourself. I believe we all do. We start to wonder, like, God, are we okay? Am I all right? Am I still your child? Do you still love me? Because the wilderness, I'm going to say, is hard. It makes you take a look at your life and everything that you thought, even about yourself. In the wilderness, it looks different. You start to question, am I really as strong as I actually thought I was? Am I as smart, as brave, as confident as I thought I was? What about these gifts that I've been given? Like, am I ever going to be able to use them? Or is this it? In the wilderness, you have to walk by faith and not by sight. You have to be able to look at the things that are happening and even feel the things that you feel and say, God, I still trust you. That's the most important thing. I am not going to give up in the wilderness. The God that I serve is able. What you start to say out of your mouth, a lot of times when we're in the wilderness, we start to self-loathe and self-depreciate. We say things about ourselves. We call ourselves names. We say things like, why was I so stupid? Why didn't I know how to do those things? And I need to say to you, the other day, I had actually, sometimes you say some things and you're like, wait a minute. And then you open up the Word of God and you see where He calls you the apple of His eye. You and I, we are not perfect, but God is. And every day that you live is another experience for you to be able to learn something new, even to learn from your mistakes, even to get back up from those failures, and to be able to use what God gave you despite how you feel. It's not based on your feelings. Faith is not based on your feelings. It's based on the belief that I will trust God no matter what. So, if you've been walking through a wilderness season, I just came on to encourage you to say, don't give up. You know that I wrote a book. If you don't, it's called Don't Give Up, Acknowledging the Struggle, Celebrating Resilience, because I was led to share my story, drop my little sand timer, able to share my story with people because I know that there are a lot of people who go through things and sometimes the enemy just tries to lie to them and tell them, hey, why don't you just throw in the towel? Who cares about you? And that's a lie. The thief comes only but to rob, to kill, and to destroy. You're going to have to start to get your identity built up in God. God, who am I to you? What do you say about me? I asked God that question one day. I remember I was going through a season, my heart was broken and I was sitting there because I sang and, directed the choir and I was sitting there with my white shirt on, just so broken. And I had my eyes closed and I was like, God, I want to scream. You ever felt that way? Tell the truth. You want to scream sometimes. And so when I opened up my eyes, it was just like I had this supernatural encounter with God where I saw purple on my white shirt. And it literally looked like someone took ink. It was a pretty purple though. And all of a sudden I watched it lift up. And as I did, I looked up and I was going, what is that? Because you're supernatural first and then you're natural. And so I'm looking and I'm like, Lord, what is that? And all I could hear is, that's you. Your royalty, and don't you settle for less. Those are the words that I want to give you today. Your royalty. God never makes junk. And even if you find yourself in a difficult situation, you have to be able to look at yourself and say, Lord, who am I to you? You'll find the answers, of course, in the Word of God, but I want you to listen when you ask Him. And when He shows you who you are, believe what He says. Now, if He says, this is where you are and I need you to make some changes, then go ahead and be ready to do that too. That's what I want to leave you with today. Make sure you go over also to Wisespan TV. I am a creative. I'm an author. I write digital courses and books, and I teach people how to do those things because there's no need in me keeping it to myself. I also sing a psalmist and write songs and different things. What are you doing with what He gave you? My sand timer fell, but I was going to show it to you and say, hey, we have time, but we don't know how much time we've been given to get that particular thing done. So don't waste time. Ask the Lord to teach you to number your days and then do what He's given you to do. And if you're in the wilderness, remember, there is a promised land. Don't you dare give up. I'll talk to you soon.